moment in what observers see as special counsel Jack Smith bursting with frustration, his major move overnight to push back on the judge overseeing the Mar-a-Lago documents case. Sarah is out. I'm John Berman with Kate Baldwin. This is CNN News Central.
All right, so overnight, special counsel Jack Smith taking on the judge overseeing the classified documents case in a new way, confronting Judge Aileen Cannon over her requests for jury instructions that embrace Donald Trump's claims that he had brought authority to take the documents with him when he left the White House. Smith pushing back hard on this, writing this in part in the filing. The court should be aware at the outset that Trump's entire effort to rely on the Presidential Records Act is not based on any facts. It is a post hoc justification that was concocted more than a year after he left the White House. Also this, saying there is no basis in law or fact for that legal presumption. The court should reject Trump's effort to invent one as a vehicle to inject the Presidential Records Act into this case. Let's get over to CNN's Zach Cohen for much more on this. Zach, there was a lot to read as this came in while everyone was sleeping. What else is the special counsel saying here?
Yeah, Kate, this simmering frustration that we've been sensing from Jack Smith towards Aileen Cannon, the judge in this case, seemed to come to a head last night in this filing from the special counsel's office. They are taking issue with this odd order from Aileen Cannon that came in last month, and it asked both sides to submit briefs for these jury instructions, outlining two different scenarios. One, outlining a jury instructions that assumes that the president has the authority under the Presidential Records Act to take these classified records home. And the second one is a scenario where it assumes that Donald Trump had broad authority as president to declassify different documents, both of which Jack Smith argues could, quote, distort the trial if the jury is sort of read in on these two scenarios as if they are fact. As you read in the intro, too, I mean, he takes serious issue with Aileen Cannon's sort of assumption that both of these scenarios should be in the jury's minds as they hear testimony if and when this case goes to trial.
Zach, thank you so much for that.
All right, with us now, CNN legal analyst, former Chief Assistant District Attorney of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, Karen Frigman-Agnifilo. Karen, this filing overnight from Jack Smith, in some of the language you can kind of read the frustration. It's as if he's saying, come on. Like, no one takes this seriously. How can you make us file something like this? What do you read in here?
Look, it's not unusual for a judge to ask the parties for proposed jury instructions before a trial. But what is unusual is she posed two hypothetical scenarios, both of which have no basis in the law. She's trying to inject the Presidential Records Act, which Donald Trump is not charged with violating the Presidential Records Act. He's charged with a law, the Espionage Act, that has been in existence for 100 years. And there are many jury instructions that are samples or examples that she could have drawn from, but none look anything like the hypotheticals that she is proposing. And in both scenarios, she's essentially saying to the jury that Donald Trump can decide whether he can possess these highly classified documents. And so in either scenario, there's no way that you would convict him. And so Jack Smith is frustrated, saying, that's not the law here. And why are you proposing that we give an unlawful instruction to the jury? And so he's asking her to rule one way or the other, because he's clearly he's setting this up for an appeal. And I think although he doesn't say it in his motion, his frustration indicates to me that he is getting ready to ask that she be recused from this case. This is just one of a series of strange, unlawful, whether it's orders or decisions that she has made, that has made legal analysts across the country scratch their heads, because they make no sense. They don't look anything like what people are used to or what's in the law. And so she's inexperienced. She is not a judge who's been around for a long time. And I think her inexperience is really showing, because she's just doing things that have no basis in the law.
Play that out for us. If he's setting up for an appeal, if the simmering frustration is seen and you see that kind of potentially leading for him asking for her to be recused, what does that do to this entire process?
So it obviously will delay it because Jack Smith would file a writ of mandamus with the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. And that obviously takes time. But although there is a trial date set for May, there is no scenario in which this trial will go in May because there are so many rulings that this judge still has not ruled on, including the Classified Information Procedures Act and other rulings that just are foundational and need to be ruled upon. So this case is not going anytime in the near future anyway, although Judge Cannon has not said that, nor has she put a future trial date on the calendar. So I think Jack Smith is not worried, I would assume, about the fact that his appeal will delay things. And also, look, he has no choice at this point because once a jury is sworn, something called jeopardy attaches, which means that if she does give these erroneous instructions and they acquit, he can't appeal that. Double jeopardy will apply, and that's the case is over forever. So this is the kind of issue that you can't appeal later. So it has to happen now. And these instructions are tailored so much in favor of Trump and for an acquittal that Jack Smith would have no choice but to appeal this now.
It's almost an act of legal desperation now. He's got to do it now or never. Kate, you wanted to ask about the New York criminal case.
Just leaning on your experience, when it comes to this expanded gag order and Donald Trump kind of calling out the judge on Truth Social yesterday, calling him a corrupt New York judge, saying there's virtually never been a more conflicted judge than this one. You have been before this judge. You've been before Merchan before. You know this judge. How does he operate in a courtroom?
He's a very down the middle judge. Nobody would say he's pro-defense or pro-prosecution. He's like a judge's judge, right? He calls balls and strikes. He's very measured. He's not one to lose his temper. He's not one to be friendly with people. He comes in and he does his job, and he does it in a kind of understated way, yet he also keeps very tight control of his courtroom. And so he is someone, he's the kind of judge you'd want on a case like this. So to call him biased, to call him somebody who's partisan, that is not something that those of us who have appeared before him for years, many years, would ever say about this judge. You could say that about some other judges, but this is not that kind of judge.
Karen Friedman-Agnifilo, great to have you on this morning. Thanks so much.